Hello and a very warm welcome to the Late Breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking. Today reviewing the Qatar Grand Prix. Won by Max Verstappen, joined on the podium by both McLaren drivers, Oscar Piastri in second, Lando Norris in third. Plenty of pit stops, plenty of penalties, a lot going on. I've actually just been informed, Sam, that we are limited to 18 minutes per segment on today's episode, as said by the FIA.
Much like Ferrari, I think I should withdraw because we are incapable of understanding how that's going to work. So
one of us should be just don't start.
Just don't bother. Yeah. That's why Carlos Sainz didn't take part, not because they had a problem, just because they went, that's too many pit stops. We can't.
6.
We can't deal with that.
We can only do 3.
But yeah, that was crazy.
I don't know whether driver of the day counts as a used segment or a new segment, so we might be only able to do 14 minutes on that. But
this is great.
I'm trying to keep up.
It's great.
The joke was really good at the start.
No, I like it still. You keep going, Ben. Okay. Make more references to it.
Do a segment in 4 minutes, like Bottas did at the start as well.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
He's efficient, if nothing else.
Good.
I'm very confused.
There's 3 of us here today, though.
Well, technically 4 if you look at cable.
Yeah, but Kurski's not.
Oh yeah, we've built up during the weekend. 1, then 2, now 3.
Hello, everyone.
3.
As a family, we are together again.
The band is back together.
None of us can perform any music.
Guaranteed this won't be 3 times better. Like, that's not going to happen, folks.
3 times worse,
if anything,
probably.
3 times worse.
Yeah. Good.
Highly probable. But what are we talking about today? Moment of the race coming up later on. We're going to be discussing George Russell and Lewis Hamilton's crash on the opening lap. Both McLarens very close at the end of the Grand Prix, both on the podium. Driver of the day, worst driver of the day, that's all to come. But let's start with the news that came earlier today. It was rumoured yesterday, but confirmed today, that no driver was allowed to do more than 18 laps on a set of tyres. This obviously added to the confusion of the day, given there were new and used sets about. But essentially, the total number of laps was 18, meaning that everyone was forced into a minimum of 3 stops, some even taking 1 or 2 more than that. We always say that, the variety of strategy is something that we like to see. We like to see more pit stops. We don't like to see a standard 1-stopper. Sam, what do you make of the decision by the FIA and how it played out?
I mean, to quote Kevin Magnussen, as we've already done several times this evening, it makes no sense because it was incredibly confusing and hard to follow along with. And we'd said this when we were recording our little bit when we watched the race. We did not know what the actual order of the Grand Prix was, maybe until the last 5 or 6 laps, once we got past the kind of last pit stop lap that everyone had to make. I absolutely love that it varied differently to a 1-stop, which is great, because the amount of times we as a group have gone, make it so the tyres have to do 3. But it was really confusing the way that the softs, the mediums, and the hards all had to only do a maximum of 18 laps. And Ben, like you said in the intro to the topic, that new tyres and old tyres were also involved in that, but there was no real discernible difference on track as to if you had to come in earlier or not to understand if that rule was broken or not. It was Pirelli finding an issue and then very quickly going, we think this is a solution, but we're not actually certain with how that works, so we'll run with that. It was a bit all over the place. It made for some very interesting racing. We saw the drivers absolutely exhausted, overheated. Piastri commenting in the post-race review that it was basically 57 qualifying laps over and over and over again because the tyres were always fresh, so you always had to push. And some of the poor drivers looked absolutely exhausted. George Russell was trying to do no hands, driving down the start-finish straight just to cool himself off. His little gloves looked like they were one of those wavy car things, when you're like, buy a new car now. So it was very confusing. It was a lot to take on, a bit overwhelming, but it's made for an interesting race weekend.
What were your thoughts on it, Harry?
As I said to you, Ben, before we started, this was like F1 2012, but from Wish.
Right, yeah, okay.
Like, as you've mentioned, we all want more pit stops and strategy variation. We definitely got more pit stops.
We did.
But not for the right reasons.
3 times as many pit stops.
Yeah, exactly. Some, if so
4 many, times. McLaren broke a record.
This is true.
There's too many.
There's too many. So yeah, it was interesting, but I don't want this. I don't want people to, and by people I mean the FIA or F1, to think this was better, because I don't necessarily think it was. Because it wasn't due to like tire management that they were having to make the stops. They just had to make the stop. So some probably could have gone longer on those tires. And
Yeah, the tires weren't completely dying off.
No, so a bit of me likes it. A bit of me doesn't want that to be a thing. Make the tires wear out rather than make them do the stops, because it doesn't make any difference. The bit about doing 57 quality laps, quite like that, because I think a lot of the time in F1 now, during the races at least, they are operating at 70%.
Yeah.
For most of the race, and I like the idea that actually they've got to push 100% for most of it. I like that idea. So maybe do something about that. But for the most part, I don't want this to continue. Shout out, and this is to end this with a bit of a compliment to F1 and the FIA to be in a position that wasn't at 2005 Indianapolis again, because could you imagine?
Teg was there, and he spoke about that a lot.
He did, yeah. And my point is, I mean, that's a while ago now, but at least they acted on it. There was an issue, they acted on it, and were like, no, we're going to have to do these stops, but to make the Grand Prix still go ahead. Now,
correct me if I'm wrong. It happened due to the potential tearing of the tyre wall, right? Because of the curbing.
Today.
Yes. I'm talking about 2005. Obviously, that's why we had to do the safety reading. So I guess all the compounds, regardless of how enduring they are, soft, medium or hard, were suffering the same lateral ripping rather than the overall wearing of the tyre. I guess what we want, rather than having to force mandatory 3 stops, is a soft tyre that in theory can go 3 or 4 seconds a lap faster, but wears out 3 times faster, and a hard tyre that's 5 seconds a lap slower, but could go on until infinity.
And we kind of almost had it, but we didn't necessarily get to see it. We only saw it really in the sprint yesterday, because the soft tyre was quicker to get you off the line, but it wouldn't last the length of the sprint.
Yeah, we and Ben spoke about exactly that, about the crossover between the two. But no, please weigh in. But it was almost like the ideal crossover. The safety car actually prolonged it a little bit longer than we thought we'd get to see.
Yeah.
And we thought the soft runners would fall out of the points. But that is the kind of crossover I want. I want a soft tyre that can only go 8 laps, but you are the fastest thing in the world. Or the hard tyre that could do 57 laps, but you literally are the snail from Monsters Inc. University.
Also, just to say, for people who think that refueling would be better, this is what it would be like.
It's not better.
It's just really confusing until the end of the race.
Also, especially if you involve qualifying loads.
Yeah.
Just imagine all of those overtakes, but they happen in the pits instead. That's refueling.
And you don't know if someone needs to be in there for 45 seconds or 6 seconds because you've got no idea how many kilograms of fuel they have. It's an awful world to live in. Avoid it.
This will probably surprise no one at all.
Good.
This was a farce. Like, come on. Regardless of whether it made it more entertaining or less entertaining, the whole fact that it even needed to exist in the first place for safety reasons is a farce. We should never have got to this point. We had no Qatar Grand Prix in 2022 because of the World Cup. We raced here 2 years ago. The whole track has been redone since that point. We really should not be in a position where the decision on maximum tyre life or tyre stints needs to be made on the day of the Grand Prix. This is Formula One shooting itself in the foot, really. The whole case behind it was, well, we don't really know how long these tyres are going to last because we haven't had any representative times on them. Well, yeah, if you don't have practice or you have one session of practice, that's going to happen. And I'm not even saying, like, I want less practice. But if you've got a questionable track and you don't know how it's going to play out, and suddenly you're massively reducing the amount of tyre, the amount of running you can do in practice, and because of that, you need to implement this, that's just not acceptable. And you're right, Sam, in that regardless of what compound this was, a lot of people are saying they could have brought harder compounds, and they were already at the harder end of the set anyway. It wouldn't have made any difference. And the issue wasn't affecting one tyre more than others. It was affecting all of them because of the curbing. Well, in that case, you can't really land this at the feet of Pirelli and say, well, they should have done something different ahead of this weekend. We have criticised Pirelli about the tyres quite a bit in the past. They have brought tyres to Grand Prix that work, regardless of whether they don't wear fast enough, or there's too much graining issues, put that to one side. The tires work at every single Grand Prix that we've had. So if there are issues very specifically at the Qatar Grand Prix that haven't reared their head in any other race this season, that's probably not an issue with Pirelli and not an issue with the tires. It's an issue with the track. And again, we shouldn't be having to make the decisions on the day. And the fact that the limit was set at 18 laps, I mean, let's just put to one side for the moment that they did 19 laps yesterday. And if it was that much of a safety risk, surely that should have been cancelled. If they were really unsure about these tires going beyond 18 laps, why on earth did they let them do that? Literally that yesterday. I don't know. I thought this was a bit of a joke. The actual result of having more pit stops and having, I don't like it being mandated in any way, but certainly having more pit stops in a race, I think is good, fundamentally a good thing. But the way in which they've had to mandate it for safety reasons, I think they got lucky. Nothing happened out there today. Could have gone a lot worse. Could have been a lot more. It was already a bit confusing. Could have been a lot more confusing if we had late safety cars and the like. I think they somewhat got away with it. They made up a rule on the fly. Very easily could have hit a situation where, I don't know, what happens if the pit lane is closed? This is starting to get to the old, again, refueling days. What happens if the pit lane is closed because of an incident and you need to make that stop on 18 laps? Did they think of that? Again, I think they were lucky that they didn't reach that sort of situation out there. Do
you think we're talking about the safety element of the tyres here, but because of a result of this new rule set that they brought in, as we mentioned in the intro point of this, the drivers were essentially having to do 57 qualifying laps. We saw Alonso talking about how overwhelmed he was. Piastri was struggling. They were sat down for Verstappen. Alonso's bottom was on fire. Now, Logan Sargent became unwell throughout the Grand Prix. George Russell was trying to cool himself down through every corner. He's lifting his hands out the cockpit. He was driving with his hands off the wheel with his visor open. That was a bad change of word timing. My point here is, they're having to drive 57 qualifying laps flat out to make sure they're maximising the tyre life they do have. Are they at risk of fainting, collapsing, overheating, where they can't keep the car on the track in a steady condition because they are being demanded 100% of their time and effort for 57 laps to make the most out of the Grand Prix at 40-degree temperatures? That is something they haven't trained for. They have at no point gone, unlike Singapore, which they do train for and understand what the risk and preparation needs to be. This is a whole challenge that not a single driver was prepared for. And it, in theory, would take Logan Sargent halfway around that lap where he said, I feel unwell, I need to come in. What if something happened to his helmet at that point? What if he was sick or he passed out and he careers straight into the side of another car? Is it another safety risk that actually has come up through result of them coming out with this new rule that they probably haven't thought of the long-term repercussions of?
Yeah, and it's one of those where at the majority of European races and the majority of nearly every other race, it probably wouldn't have been as much of an issue. But certainly, even beside the mandated pit stops and the like, driving in those conditions in Qatar, I don't even know if that should really be happening at that temperature. Because even if, like you say, they might have been going at 70% and managing more if they didn't have to do three pit stops, I still think there should be some questions about, is this right? We all saw what they looked like afterwards. We don't want this to be easy for the drivers. Don't get me wrong, but we also don't want anything risky going the other way either. So, yeah, it's an interesting point you raise. Any thoughts, Harry, on what Sam just said?
Nah.
That's great, mate. It's good to have you back.
Got nothing.
Wow. You bragged a lot on Wednesday about how, you're smashing it in October. We're going to miss the sprint review and the qualifying, but you can't even make a point now.
The sprint review on Friday, that's not even a thing.
The qualifying review was.
We just made it up.
Didn't make it up. We do a qualifying review every single
No, but
race.
Friday.
Yep. Qualifying.
Making up podcasts.
I am.
It's a very valid point, and I was surprised how difficult they were finding it out there. And yes, I know they haven't necessarily trained to be flat out, but they're very, very fit, these drivers.
Yeah, but it's 42
No,
degrees.
I'm not criticizing them. I'm just saying it's quite surprising because Singapore is as hot and as humid, and maybe a tougher circuit to drive. And I know when they first went to Singapore they struggled, but now you don't really see it so much. But I was surprised today how much they were. But I guess maybe that does come down to the fact they were having to do basically quali laps.
I think Singapore is a very
lap.
more technical circuit, but I think Qatar is a far more intense physical circuit on the Gs and the speed they're going through every corner. They drop below fourth gear once for the entire lap. It's a high intensity circuit.
You get one break on the Qatar lap, which is the start-finish straight. If you think about Singapore, I appreciate it's not a straight heavy circuit, but you do have the start-finish straight for a little bit, and then you do have two near-ish straights that happen on the lap, at least this year after the track was reconfigured. But yeah, Qatar, you are pretty much at 100% brain capacity from turn one through to the last corner, aren't you? There's just not much in the way of let-up at all.
It's a fair point, but it was just a surprise, I think, just given the standard of fitness of F1 drivers these days. But I guess not a criticism of them. And it needs to be noted that maybe we can't have these flat-out races because the physicality of it is too much for the human body to cope with.
Make them fit ice packs into the cars, mandatory next year.
Just chuck water at them.
Every time they go past the start-finish straight, just have a bucket ready to throw over them.
100%.
Yeah, fair. I do also think as well, the safety car at the start of this Grand Prix, it helped the race in one respect and didn't help it in another, in that I would have actually been really interested to see the McLaren and the Mercedes duo and how close they could have got to Verstappen if we had a clean start. So that was the negative part of the safety car. But I think the positive part of it was that we did have a few go into the pits after lap 3, which I don't think anyone is doing in green flag conditions. And a lot of the action did come about from those drivers essentially being overtaken and then undercutting by a number of laps. So without that, would we have had that much action? I don't know. Probably not as much.
Can't comment because we didn't really see it.
That's a clue, mate. We had some Wi-Fi issues at the start, folks.
Sorry.
Didn't really see much of the
Amateur
first 10
hour
laps.
The race actually started on lap 12.
Yeah. It was only a 35 lap race.
Because obviously Hamilton was walking across the track like a lonely man after his incident. I have a photo, Ben, of the quality.
It's so bad.
I'm going to send you it now. I'm going to show you just how clear the camera quality was that we were watching it on. There you go. You should have it. You should have it now. It should just be coming through for you.
It's just a ghostly figure. It's so bad.
How do you know that's Hamilton?
I can't be watching the BBC. That could be a news story. I don't know. You know, it is.
That could have been a race steward.
Literally.
That could be a leopard. That could be anything.
It could be quite literally. It's almost like one of those UFO. Like I've seen an alien. It's on the shakiest camera in the world.
It was a struggle.
Man, well,
it was tough.
We're going to take our first break. We'll let Sam and Harry catch up from 1962, which they're currently in, and we'll be discussing McLaren on the other side.
18 minutes, mate. Bang on.
The FIA loves us.
It was another good day for McLaren in their pursuit of Aston Martin in the Constructors' Championship with another double podium. It was this time Oscar Piastri finishing second, Lando Norris finishing third. Lando Norris starting the race a bit further back from Oscar Piastri, ultimately catching up to him, and they were separated by about a second or so at the flag. And there was an ongoing discussion with a few laps to go about whether Lando Norris could attack Oscar Piastri or not. McLaren very early on saying, hold position, let's take the points. Lando Norris at least questioning the decision, but not outright attacking Piastri for that second place. What did you make, Sam, of that call from McLaren? Do you think Lando Norris had the pace to catch Piastri?
I mean, it was a rather sarky response from Lando Norris, wasn't it? What are we doing that for then?
Why?
I'm definitely faster. It was like, you're being a bit cheeky here. You know, I can do it.
I'm a little bit quicker.
I quite enjoyed that. It was a bit sarcastic. What do I make of the call? I think from a team point of view, from a points point of view, from a Constructors' Championship point of view, it makes total sense that you hold the line and you go, We'll take 30. Was it 33? Verstappen got the fastest lap in the end?
It was 33 in the end. At the time of the message, I think they were on track for 34 because I think maybe Lando Norris had the fastest lap. But yes, ended up with 33.
Yeah, which is a huge points gain over Aston Martin, who's obviously the team that they're in direct competition with at the moment. I think, Alonso picks up 8 points, and that is it. So they have
maybe.
Yeah, who knows with this penalty system? We'll have to see. But that's a 25-point swing, and the gap is massively reducing every single Grand Prix we go to. So in terms of that prize money, the standings, this is a no-brainer. It makes total sense. Don't risk battling. Don't risk taking each other off. We've already seen what teammates can do to each other on the first corner of the Grand Prix. And funnily enough, their result can have a massive thanks to Mercedes for absolutely mucking that one up on turn 1 as well. Piastri even said it in his speech afterwards. He said, thanks for everyone bowling wide on turn 1 and letting me through. Because I do think it would have been a very different day for McLaren. I think they had the pace definitely to get back up to 2 and 3, but whether it actually happened with the battling and getting through, and if both Mercedes were in the race, there's a lot of other hypothetical options that get thrown their way that they have had to have come up against. So the call to me made total sense. As a spectator, I would have loved to have watched it, and I do think that Piastri chilled out. I think he kind of had a little internal battle with himself of, shall I ignore the team? I could do this anyway. Shall I just give it a go? And then I think he got to about 1.4, 1.5 behind and went, no, okay, I realise this really isn't the end all. I'm far ahead of Piastri in the points tally overall anyway. The chances of me winning the race aren't huge, although I do think that Norris can make a bigger dent into Verstappen's lead than Piastri was doing. Ben, as we said in the sprint review yesterday, Norris has been the faster of the two drivers for the whole weekend. He's just mucked it up for himself in the final moments multiple times where he hasn't been able to deliver. But I do think he could have caught Piastri. I do think he could have finished second place. But overall, I think it's a very logical call here for McLaren to just settle it all early, not wait to the last 3 or 4 laps where they might be wheel to wheel and just go, we're putting it to bed now. Early night for you, McLaren. Tuck yourself in, and we'll see you in the next race weekend.
Are you listening, Alpine?
Alpine got a lot of things. Pierre Gasly doesn't know what track limits are.
Doesn't know what the track is at Qatar.
Overtakes people only off the track.
Give it a go on the track, mate. See how that works.
You might like it.
Yeah. Just to clarify on the Aston Martin McLaren competition, if the results stand as they are right now, 11 points, McLaren will be behind Aston Martin. So they are knocking on the door. And actually, McLaren to Ferrari in third, 79 points, which maybe just take a peek over your shoulder, Ferrari. For clarity as well, Alpine are then a further 129 points back. So
it's all in hand.
You're hot on their heels, Ben.
It could swing either way.
You could burn your baguette in that time.
Burn a few baguettes in that time, mate.
Where's this going?
Baguettes.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Harry? Do you think that they played it right, McLaren?
Yeah, I think they do, and I from a spectator point of view, I'd love to see those two go properly wheel to wheel. But given where McLaren were at the start of the year, I think Sam, you tweeted something about where they were
17th in DNF in Bahrain,
Bahrain, and to where they are now. Like, there's no point to risk this because, as you're saying, they're now only 11 points behind Aston Martin, and they picked up a chunk of points this weekend. A big old chunk.
Yeah. It was a 5-pack of chunky cookies from Tesco, that was.
Kit Kat Chunky.
Oh, I love a Kit Kat Chunky.
So, yeah, if they jeopardised this or risked it in any way, we'd have been screaming at them for being absolute morons.
Screamed at Mercedes for being morons. Well, Lewis Hamilton.
One of them. So, yeah, this is entirely the right call. I think, yes, Lando probably had the pace over Piastri all weekend, but the only reason Lando was behind Piastri all weekend was because he kept mucking up. Exactly. So I feel like this isn't even... Lando can't have many gripes with not being allowed to battle here because, yeah, he should have been in front anyway, and he hasn't been in either races this weekend. So
it was his own downfall, wasn't it? All starting in the qualifying sessions for both races we've had this week.
I do wonder where... I know they finished second or third, but how far they could have pushed Verstappen today if they'd started where they qualified in qualifying on Friday. Because given they started 6th and 10th...
So many sessions.
And they were only, 4 or 5 seconds off Verstappen at the end. Where could they have been if they were, started second and third? So Anyway, but besides the point, I still think this is 100% the right call for Maka.
Yeah, I guess with to add to your point on the 4 or 5 seconds difference between Verstappen and the McLarens at the flag, a lot of 5-second penalties about as well. And they were, I know Verstappen wasn't one of the ones who was really in danger of guessing it, but yeah, that's with the amount of track limit penalties at this circuit, that's not a comfortable margin. Now, I do think that Verstappen, because of the way the start panned out, was on almost an intentionally suboptimal strategy, in that Verstappen, as far as I'm aware, did 17 laps on the first stint, 17 on the second stint, 17 or 18 on the third stint, and then did like 5 laps right at the end, which, as you can probably work out, that's not optimal. He didn't get the most out of that last stint. But the reason he went ahead with that was because he could. Like, it didn't matter. He could just stay out as long as he possibly wanted to, stay out of any traffic, and ultimately know that even though the undercut was quite powerful, it wasn't going to happen because he had that gap. So I think he was on it'd have been interesting to see Verstappen pushed enough to go on to a different strategy. I still think he would have won, but like you say, it would have been fascinating to see. From a McLaren perspective, yeah, this was obviously the right call. Like, what on earth would they have had to risk here? That's 33 points is a lot of points when you're chasing down.
5-pack of cookies.
It is, you could say, a big chunk. If you put enough of those chunks together, you can call it a cookie. Put 5 of them together, sell it at Tesco.
£1 price.
Good.
Good content.
I love a food analogy.
Yeah. Obviously, this was the right call. Was Lando Norris faster? Yes. But as McLaren told him, doesn't matter. They knew that he was faster, but what's the point? Yeah, Lando Norris is going to pick up 3 more points. Piastri is going to lose 3. For the sake of McLaren, they don't care what order they finish in. Lando Norris is clear of Piastri in the championship by about 50 points or so. Piastri's not going to beat him this year. Although maybe I shouldn't make predictions about Piastri because they don't go particularly well. Reviewing bold predictions very shortly. But yeah, this was obviously the right call. So there's not too much to say. Would have been interesting. I would have loved to see Lando Norris right at the front from the start, see if he could have challenged Verstappen. But as you rightly say, Harry, it was on him that he wasn't there to begin with. So right call, bit of an easy one. Oh, review bold predictions. God, this is painful.
I'm really enjoying this because I was wrong, but it doesn't matter because he was so badly wrong that it makes it so much better for me.
Let's get Sam's out of the way of very quickly.
Please.
Sam essentially predicted utter dominance for Verstappen, and this, apart from Singapore, might have been the closest weekend that Verstappen's had so far. So.
I think I've learned that I am cursed on bold predictions.
Can I say, after Friday afternoon or Friday evening, so qualifying, I was thinking, oh no.
I dusted my hands of it.
No.
I've got this one wrapped up. I'll see you on Monday.
Out qualified everyone by, was it half a second?
0.6.
But didn't even do his second lap.
Couldn't be bothered.
I was like, oh no.
He had the cool down towel on while everyone else is still going around.
That's very Sebastian Vettel vibes, that.
And there's me thinking, hello, I might get one here. And then I woke up on Saturday to heartbreak.
Heartbreak Hotel.
That's me. Me and Lance Stroll are in the embarrassment lane. We are depressed.
Good.
Someone who isn't depressed, though, is Mr. Harry Eade.
I can't believe you've done this.
I can't believe you've done this.
I can't believe you've done this to me.
Harry Eade predicted that either the sprint race or the main race would be won by a McLaren, and if my eyes did not deceive me, Oscar Piastri won the race on Saturday.
Absolute scenes.
I just can't believe it.
What a run. What a run.
Internally, I'm so angry.
Has 4 correct bold predictions this year.
That's more than I've had in my life.
4.
I've had one. I got it right the first race weekend. I've had a single one for 15 Grand Prix. 15! That's insane, Jeremy.
Yes, I was pretty shook. And to be honest, even after sprint shootout. I wasn't well, I guess it didn't matter because both were on the front row, but I wasn't that confident that...
When Russell got in front of him, A little bit of me celebrated.
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
I thought,
Oscar,
And
mate.
a little bit of you died.
and then he got that pass. I went, put the arms back down, Sam. Save it for another day.
Good move by George, by the way. As he said to himself.
He loved it. Another medal for
He
me.
loved it.
Ben, sorry, we've just gone through our two. What was yours, Ben?
Don't remember.
I
got
think
the clip.
social
My
media
memory's
remembers.
failing me.
The clip's out there of you illicitly
no.
explicitly saying it will be Piastri now. I've said that.
Yeah. Lando Norris, mate.
Yeah.
Down there.
I can't complain about this at all, because if you remember the Dutch Grand Prix and my bold prediction from there, I said that Esteban Ocon was going to
On the
be in the top
podium.
4, which was a pretty bold prediction. And I could have just said an Alpine. And of course, Pierre Gasly then got a top 4 finish. And I said at that point, right, from now on, I'm going to stop myself going too bold, and I'm just going to limit it to a team. So, of course, I went and said that Lando Norris specifically would get a race win. And then his teammate did. I deserve everything that I'm getting here, which is a non-movement on the abacus.
Do you ever look at other things that happen in the race and think that would have been a great bold prediction? Because, a double point score for Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, fair.
I watched that happen. I went, I could have said that, and it would have been brilliant.
Good.
And
They've not looked like they could have scored double points all year
season.
if you
And it's-
smacked them with it.
Yeah, they've literally bush. Have that, Sam, you moron. You're never getting anything right.
Oh, dear.
So if my abacus is correct, Sam's got a bit of work to do.
I
'Cause myself and Harry are now tied on 4.
might just pass over
Sam
the
is-
password at this point.
Got 1. It's still technically doable, but it would be a historic
I
Michael
reckon it-
Jordan-esque run.
I feel
Feel
like
at
it
this
will
point.
happen.
I feel like I've understood how Sergio Perez feels when they were talking about him having to score points against Verstappen to stay in the title fight.
Stop going off track, Sam.
5-second penalty for Sam.
Another one.
Another one.
It's really hurting us, Sam.
Really hurting our race, Sam. Another one.
All right, I'll do it again.
It's just a bit sadistic at this point.
Oh, gosh.
Driver of the day. Should we do that?
Yeah.
The verdict is in. You're the driver of the day. You're the driver of the day. You're good at driving.
Have you got Sam?
I can't believe I'm saying this. It's no hands, Georgie Russ. Woo!
Look, Mom.
It looked like he had no hands in those gloves. They looked so flimsy going down that straight.
Just driving with his wrist.
With his wrist, I do that down the motorway. Put your hands up, Maurice. It's more fun, He was not at fault for the Hamilton crash. He was last. He had damage to his car. And he still was fighting for a podium. After all that chaos, he still brought it back for a brilliant result. So, Georgie Russ, the burglar, is my driver of the day.
A burglar.
Apart from he got burgled this time.
Well, we didn't get burgled, we got fully assaulted. QBH, mate. Grievous Bogley Hamilton coming in there.
Give him an Asbo.
Just stay away from George Russell at turn 1.
Oh, dear.
That's lead topic for Wednesday sorted. Lewis Hamilton and court. Harry, who did you have driver of the day?
I don't tend to like doing this, but I'll go with the popular vote and go for Oscar Piastri. He was rapidly becoming a favourite of mine.
He is my favourite person on the track.
Man's so calm, so sassy about the FIA and giving him 5-second penalties.
I love that. I thought you were going to say I've got another penalty.
Yeah, I think Piastri this week, it's obviously this weekend, but again today, just excellent and
just
soaking
adorable.
and very good. And this is a great sign for him. Very good at soaking up pressure from. I know yesterday was Verstappen and today's Norris, which a bit different, but still that's still quite a bit of pressure. And man didn't crack.
THS,
THS.
the human sponge. Soaks it up.
Ben, what's yours?
Both McLaren drivers were great. I mean, Verstappen won the race, so I guess he deserves a shout out as well,
Obviously.
even though it wasn't by the same margin. I do need to give a shout out to a certain Valtteri Bottas
Oh, what a
because
boy.
Finally,
that was
he's
a
woken up.
great run. And
He's the boat.
hey, I mean, he wasn't the only driver to stop at the end of lap 3. Liam Lawson did, Kevin Magnussen did, and Lance Stroll did. But he's the only one who made it work of those 4. So I think he deserves a shout out. But I am going to agree with Mr. Sage, George Russell. When they said P4 was on the cards, I was like, all right, maybe P5. And then Fernando Alonso decided he doesn't like the track anymore, so P4 did become an option.
See you later.
He was great, and he recovered as well as someone should have done in that position.
That's fair.
Sorry, Sergio. I'm afraid more's
I was
coming.
say, I think, is that a subliminal hit on Sergio Perez?
Oh, no.
Ooh, worst driver of the day, Sam.
I'm going to get a reputation, Nick.
People, on Friday I did the quality review, which does exist on my own, and I said that Bottas is fantastic at low grip circuits, and I went into previous results that you went to. I was so clinical with my information on that.
Should have made that a bold prediction, mate.
I know, and I'm a fool. Anyway, Sergio Perez, on the other hand, yeah, I also apologise to his fans because we have been harsh on him, but he's not exactly making it easy to be kind at the moment, is he?
Stay on the track.
Do you want to play the jingle or you not bothered?
Oh, we didn't.
You looked like you were keen for a jingle.
In the bin, worst driver of the day. Bin, worst driver of the day. You suck at driving.
Thank you, Live Laugh Latifi, as always, the triple L. I am going to go Lewis Hamilton, though, because you don't just career into the side of your teammate and then go, I've got to take off my teammate, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, in the interviews afterwards, he did say, I've watched all the footage back, I'm entirely at fault, and I respect that, but you know, you're lap one, man. You're a 7-time, 104 race winner here. You know that races are not won on corner one of a race, and you can take your time and get the job done. And he was slower than Russell in every single session this race weekend, including, clearly, going down into turn one. We're excited that
Arguably wasn't slower than that one.
Too quick.
Hamilton was too quick.
If anything, that's the one time he deployed too much speed. So yeah, this was just bad. This was a real uncharacteristic error from Hamilton, and you know, I don't know what really got into him, but it was bad. There are some big candidates for worst driver of the day, and I'm sure the boys will go into them, so I won't steal any names just yet. But we've got some names to talk about, that's for sure.
Oh dear.
Yeah, you're right, Sam. This is a bit of a weird one in that I think Pierre Gasly might have had the third worst driver of the day performance in F1 history. The fact that he's not in the top two tells you everything you need to know. I think it's Hamilton or Perez, one or the other. I'm going to side with you, Sam, and say it was Hamilton because Perez did lap one and some other laps after that as well. Not all of them. He spends a lot of the time off the track, but he made it past turn one, which Lewis Hamilton didn't, and it was his own doing. We'll discuss that a little bit more after the next break, but I'll go for Lewis Hamilton, but equally, Sergio Perez might have had one of the second worst driver of the day performances of all time.
Oh no. Oh no.
Bad.
Yeah, I shout out as well to Nico Hulkenberg. That's not, you can't part that, mate.
Hey, you know, it's difficult.
Yeah, I sorry, do need to say something on this. If Sainz had been out on the formation lap or just before the start, I would have sympathy.
But not now.
They knew hours that he was not going to be
His car wasn't even in the warm-up on the
drilled
track
that
bit.
into him.
Yeah. It literally, the Ferrari wasn't on the grid when they were setting the cars
They
up.
also have, like, on the side of the pit wall, they put little numbers out.
Yeah.
That you line up with your number. Like, come on.
Do you
You've
think
been around long enough,
he was
Nico.
texting, he was like, because you kind of see in his helmet, he realised, damn, can I reverse?
Can I reverse back now? So shout out to him. Gasly also stay on the track, mate. Perez wasn't great, but sorry, Lewis, mate.
It's a triple.
It's a triple.
Oh, baby, there's 3!
Like you say, he's a 7-time world champion. And Mercedes, I think, today could have been right in there with McLaren, given the pace they had in the sprint. Hamilton especially, because he was pretty rapid towards the end. What are you trying to win it on that turn one for, son? Just why? Don't know. It's just a bit of a... I don't know.
Very rookie.
I wouldn't say it was reckless, and I guess, you know, he saw an opportunity, but yeah. Anyway, so sorry, Lewis. That was not great from you today, but also quite a few bad ones out there.
I did get another F1 drivers walking in weird places photo, though, so I'm really happy with that.
Well, barely.
I've got
arguable.
Okay. There's 3 pixels on the screen.
Someone's walking.
But
He might have been at home in Stevenage.
I'm going to be on a new Netflix documentary of, you know, UFOs.
Yeah. Good.
Big brain strat.
Bob?
We're gonna need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
Jenny was a friend of mine vibes every time.
Thank you, Brandon Flowers.
Oh, I cannot wait to see them live in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, dear.
Who have you got, Sam? Or what have you got?
It was really hard to follow, I'm not going to lie.
Any of them?
Literally didn't know what was going on for most of it. I think I'm going to go with Pierre Gasly, actually, for just trying to make all of his overtakes off the track and believing that that is a legitimate strategy that will work. And then not giving them back when he's quite clearly been off the track every time he went past. So, P. Gasly, I think he was that bad. I have to give him something that's a bit embarrassing. You know, I need to give him a put down. So, yeah, Gasly for big brain strategy.
Yeah, that's fair.
The BBS.
I also went with Gasly. I went for the specific moment of you need to let Lance Stroll back through and then waiting until also getting overtaken by Perez to do it. That's not optimal, mate. You don't want to do that. And he tried to do it earlier on in the previous lap as well. And did you notice it was kind of a bit of a, I'm somewhat slowing down. Do you want to go past? And Lance was kind of like, no. And then
Lance is like, hey, I
obviously
can overtake here? I'm going to make a move?
Maybe?
I was really annoyed at him because obviously teammate wars is coming up and currently he's in front, but that gap just got a lot smaller.
Oh, dear.
ooh, a bit of points for Ocon. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheeky bite of the old point cake for Ocon there.
Oh, 46-44 in the favour of Gasly.
Come on, Pete Gasly, don't let me down, you sausage git.
Sausage kid. Good.
And there's the title of this episode. Harry, what was your big brain strat?
I will go for, and by the way, shout out to, we've already mentioned, but Bottas' strategy worked out very well.
That's
for
a
him.
serious one.
It's a serious actual one. But I'm going to go for a GP coming on the radio to Max Verstappen. We didn't see much of Max, but coming on the radio saying, can you, increase your pace in a manageable way? And I said to Sam, it's like work office speak. And Max's reaction was why I'm giving this, because he just went, what is that?
What is that?
What does that mean?
Do you want me to go quicker or not?
Basically, GP had to come back like, yeah, just go quicker.
Bit faster.
Bit faster, please. So I'll go for that.
Just a little bit.
The married couple, GP and Max Verstappen, continues.
I love them.
They're just amazing together. Love that.
Can't wait for us to get a post-Formula 1 kind of Kardashian-type documentary of them, the Lambiasis.
Yeah.
I think that would be fantastic.
The Lambiasi. At home with the Lambiasis.
At home with the Lambiasis. Just Max and GP just shouting at each other over radios.
They're at it again in practice as well on Friday.
Yeah, non-stop bickering.
Yeah. It's not qualifying, Max. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah. My apologies, FIA. We have not stuck to the 18-minute limit on this segment, but we will go to our next break. We'll be discussing Mercedes on the other side.
I'd like to request a familiarisation session so I can understand the rules better.
Sure. That's good, Sig. I knew you'd get into the joke.
Hey! I'm part of it now.
Can't beat him, Jordan.
It's like an old thigh slapper, that was. Oh, wait. God, the banter is so bad.
Okay, it was set to be a good day for Mercedes, starting second and third on the grid. I mean, if they stuck to that, that's 33 points. That's not too bad at all. Instead, it was McLaren who claimed 33 points. George Russell was fourth, and Lewis Hamilton did not make it past the first corner. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton having contact into turn one. George Russell started in front of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton got the better at the start. 3 into 1 didn't go into the first corner. No points for Hamilton. What did you make of it, Sam? Did you see it as a Hamilton error? Because we know now that he has owned up to it on social media.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to keep barking up the same tree, but it was very difficult for me and Harry to fully understand what was going on live. Because, again, as maybe what we'll post on social media, the view that me and Harry had of pixels to screen ratio was not good, 1-to-1. 1 pixel on the screen. It was really hard to go, I don't know who's hit who. There's just a cut, there's a square going off the track.
Did you know it was a Mercedes?
No, not really, I guess, because of where they started.
Yeah, we heard it was a Mercedes.
We heard the audio.
It was confusing to say the least.
And I still haven't
taken out Verstappen.
Could literally be what? It could have been. It could have been a bird floating to the side of a car. I don't know. But I haven't seen it from George Russell's point of view. But Russell comes on, bless him, and this is classic Russell, immediately over the radio of, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't look behind me. I've murdered my hero's race. I've looked up to him forever ago. He's going to be angry at me." It's almost like when you do something to your dad's coming home later, and you go, "I'm going to be told off because dad's coming home," and Lewis is walking down the track like a sad, lonely man.
Just you wait until your father hears about this.
Dad gets home. And you walk up the stairs with your bum against the wall because you don't want to smack bottom.
No, that's very specifically you.
Just me. Sorry, Dad. I know you're listening. This is 100% on Lewis. We've already spoken about it anyway. He had so much time. He had so much ability in the car. The car was clearly fast in race pace. It wasn't the best in qualifying, despite them being second and third. But a lot of that, again, was due to laps being deleted that they found themselves on that front, second and third position in the front row. It just felt really, really amateur from Lewis Hamilton. It was arguably his worst moment of the whole season so far. This was the race weekend is his worst race weekend of the season, I think. And this incident really, put a full stop to the end of it because it was genuinely bad. Really, really rookie mistake. It's the kind of thing I would expect someone like Lance Stroll to do or Latifi to do. Just to drive straight to the side of their teammate and go, "Whoopsie.
Oh no.
I crashed again. Ah, mamma mia, I crashed again." I'm not sure who that's meant to be.
You just gave 2 Canadians.
Oh no.
Thought we fucking Italian.
Big shout out to Lewis Hamilton, by the way, for moaning about his tyres on the formation lap. That's a new one.
Tyres, man.
I hate them already.
He knew he wasn't going to get much chance in the actual race, so he had to get it in.
He went there coming off corner 1. I hate him so much. Get the tyre rolling away
I
from
hate
him.
you.
Get off my car.
Tyre's dead, Bono.
Next time, Bono, just put me on some bricks on the start-finish line, please. That makes me happier. He was a bit of a muppet. This was a really poor move. He clearly didn't learn either from the Ocon incident during the sprint, which is 3 into 1 corner. Really don't go round here. Just bide your time a little bit, man. Like, we know Verstappen's got the pace. I know you think, I'm on the softs, I better jump everyone else as soon as I can. But it just got the better of him, I think. And yeah, the silly mistake, all his fault. And it's cost the team massively because they could have walked away with 33. Instead, they walk away with 12 points.
Which is a smaller number than 33.
If you're not good at maths, that is a smaller number, yes. Less than.
Correct.
Lower.
Not quite as much.
1 point. Well done. Next one, higher or lower. What number do you want?
Higher.
Yeah. What did you make of it, Harry?
I've echoed Sam's points and
the Italian bit.
Sorry, I echo most of Sam's points, not all of them.
Ignore that bit.
Do you know what? This feels like it's been brewing a little while. I'm not saying we're at the levels of Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, but they more often than not this year, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell have shared the same bit of racetrack, like quite a few.
Some
times.
moments. There have been some moments.
And as we've already said, Russell through misfortune, but his own doing, and also just some bad luck, has ended up quite a few points behind Hamilton this year. Hamilton's been very good, but it just feels like this was going to happen at some point. Do you remember Spain in qualifying when they hit each other?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, see?
That was... Wow. I forgot that happened.
Yeah, see?
Wheel to wheel, that wasn't it?
They were both on lap. It was just stupid, wasn't it? And
Russell had to get out of the way going down the start-finish straight, and Hamilton's lap was ruined.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Anyway, so we had it in Suzuka where they were scrapping away, and it was all fair, but it's a bit dicey, and it just feels like it was going to happen at some point. But it's a costly thing, and I'm not. And I stand by what I said. This is Hamilton's fault, but
got out their system now though.
Hopefully
go again.
Hopefully they got out of the system, but it's a costly mistake because he's trying to chase down Perez in the championship again.
Not anymore.
Well, Perez didn't do that well today, so
somehow still got points despite being such a terrible Grand Prix.
But it's just a costly error from Hamilton, and again, I'm not trying to slag Hamilton off at all because I think he's still on it 95% of the time. We saw it in Singapore. It was pretty exhilarating. But it happens, and not that it happens very often, but a few times now, Hamilton sort of just misjudges where cars are. I'm thinking back to Belgium last year with Alonso, and he sort of just closed the door on Alonso.
Albon in Brazil.
I mean, yeah,
this year.
Monza this
It started to rack up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Piastri, I forgot about that one. Just those sort of clumsy incidents that we've become so unaccustomed to with Lewis Hamilton, just not getting involved with those.
His eyesight's getting bad.
His glasses.
Yeah. Well, Bordeaux used to have them.
Oh God. Who?
Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah.
Ericsson, yeah, true.
500 champ.
No, we're not saying Lewis Hamilton's blind, but it just seems odd in that respect. Just that they're happening a bit more often than they used to, and it's not great that it's happening against his own teammate and cost them a chunk of points that McLaren picked up.
With the chunks again.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
When we're not getting back onto
It's
chunk
not an
chat.
analogy, it's just a phrase.
Chunk. It's Kit Kat Chunky.
That bit of chocolate at the end of Kit Kat Chunky that hasn't got any wafer in it.
Yes.
So good.
Good, that, isn't it?
Good.
So good.
Again, similar to what Harry did to Sam, I agree with nearly everything that Harry said there, apart from the last bit. We'll ignore that. You're right. These sorts of errors are creeping in a little bit more frequently the last year or two. And I know we discussed this on the podcast not that long ago, that is Lewis Hamilton the best driver at owning up to errors and apologising for mistakes? And I think our consensus was yes. But the fact is, he's having to do quite a bit of it now versus what he used to, which I think is one of the reasons why we can identify that, yeah, he probably is the best at that. The incident itself, I won't add too much to it because I agree. I thought it was Hamilton's error. I think he was just overzealous for lap one. He was ambitious trying to go around the outside there. George Russell had nowhere to go. He couldn't do much. And I think Lewis Hamilton, I don't hold it against Lewis Hamilton at all for immediately saying, my teammate's taken me out, because it's adrenaline, it's raw, it's just happened. I don't mind that at all, because as soon as he's reflected on it, he's gone back and said, actually, no, this was my error, not George Russell's error. So I don't mind the heat of the moment making that sort of comment. But overall, I would like to say, even though I do, put the blame on Lewis Hamilton here, I kind of look at what Mercedes have done strategically and question it a little bit to say, we know how the soft tyres started versus medium tyres started, right? Looking at the sprint race, all of the safety car restarts, the soft tyres had a huge advantage on the medium tyres at the start of races or at the start of safety car restarts. The way in which it panned out was entirely predictable. Like, it was entirely predictable that George Russell on medium tyres in second and Lewis Hamilton on the outside on soft tyres in third, that they were going to be in those exact positions going into turn one. In fact, that might have been the most likely scenario, what happened out there, that Lewis Hamilton was going to get alongside George Russell based on that tyre difference. I feel like Mercedes should have, and maybe they did, and it just didn't go, nothing happened on it, but should they have not accounted for this a little bit more? Should they have not, I don't know, gone with the reverse strategy with actually George Russell starting on the softs instead? Should they have said to their drivers, look, based on the tyre difference, there is a good chance you are going to be side by side going into turn one. Don't take each other out. Maybe they did say that and it happened anyway, but I just feel like they could have avoided it a little bit more, the team themselves. Maybe I'm being too harsh on them.
Russell didn't have any new softs because of the sprint race.
He still could have taken a used set as some others did, because I think he still had tyres that were good for
be a fool for
16 laps maybe.
Softs. But I think your point about judging the speed difference from new softs to new mediums is a very fair one, and one that these are clever people. Think about it.
Big fan of Papatoto directing from the sofa.
Yeah, literally, I've got to call up.
So good.
Yeah.
Disclosure, that's my moment of the race. Absolutely love it.
It's like he's telly shopping and he's gone, that's a bit of meat. Stop it.
It's going to be a discussion for another time with Mercedes, but it does feel like if you look at the battle for second, third, fourth, fifth in the championship, it's like McLaren are really good now, but started the year terribly. Aston Martin started brilliantly and aren't great now. Ferrari are Ferrari, and Mercedes have kind of just gone, all right, by default, we're second. It feels like a lot of the time this year, it's like they've, I don't know, found themselves in the spot of second rather than got there by their own.
They shouldn't be second. Their car, I don't think their car at any point, actually, I think about it, is 100% being the second fastest car, rather, at any point in this season. I think they've just done well to be consistent.
Let's move on. Logan Sargent retired from the Grand Prix. He was fairly close to Alex Albon for the majority of the race before he retired. Towards the end, he was in last, challenging Nico Hulkenberg. We heard over team radio that he was having issues with his health and with obviously incredibly humid, incredibly hot, as we've already identified. Didn't hear too much on it for a few laps. It then came back around again and he retired the car by his own volition. The decision was left with him, decided to retire the car. We saw him having to be helped out of the car. I think firstly from the three of us, hoping everything's okay with him. What did you make of the situation, Sam? It's very rare that we see a situation where a driver retires through a decision of their own rather than something that's forced upon them.
Yeah, firstly, echo what you said there. We obviously hope that Logan is completely fine. It just shows you, as I spoke about earlier, that the outright manner of this Grand Prix, at the temperature that they're racing out, the intensity of the track, and the fact these tyres have to be pushed to their limits for the 17, 18 laps, takes its toll, especially on someone like Logan Sargent, who, first season in Formula One, maybe isn't as physically prepared as maybe he thought he was to endure something like this. Now, I think what was really interesting to Logan Sargent pulling out of the Grand Prix due to health, which I think was the right call. I think it would have been a health risk had he, kept on going. And you saw him try to delay it. He came over the radio and went, I think I have to retire. I don't feel very well. And James Vowles very kindly said, come in, we'll look after you. Papa Vowles, he will look after you. Put a blanket round him, give him a little cup of cocoa and,
That's probably the last thing you wanted was a cup of cocoa.
I'm sure it really was in that heat. Yes, you're right. Maybe just like an iced coffee or something.
Cold brew, mate.
Delightful. I love a cold brew.
That's what
Really do love a cold brew. Starbucks sponsor me. But here we hear Sargent saying, a couple of laps later again, I'm going to have to come in. It's not getting any better. I'm struggling. What I feel sorry for, but also am encouraged by, is Logan Sargent's reaction to having to retire himself, because this was, arguably other than Zandvoort, his strongest race weekend of the season. I don't think he would have outright beat Albon anyway, but he was right there with him, and that's all we've asked of from Logan Sargent the entire season so far, is to always be right with Albon, and he was. In qualifying, other than maybe a couple of little mistakes that he made, the pace was good. Obviously got his lap time deleted, which meant he was out, and he was going to beat Albon before that, but the lap time was deleted. And I think he realises the severity of another race not being finished. He knows he's under pressure. He knows he needs to get these performances in. And if Albon finishes, 13th or 14th, and he finishes either 14th or 15th, I can't remember which order they're exactly in, and there's only a few seconds between them, we all look at that and go, that's all right from Sargent. He's exactly where we want him to be. This has been a good weekend for Sargent. And he, on paper, doesn't get to prove that again because of an issue that he hasn't crashed the car. He hasn't been crashed into. Something hasn't failed. He's just not well. And that is mentally pretty gutting to go through when you think, I'm doing really well here and I need a solid result. And you heard it kind of being like over the radio. He was really frustrated with himself because he knew that this was the weekend where he could have started to turn things around. So I hope going to Texas in a couple of weeks' time, he can take this mentality that he, was doing well and he was gutted to have to pull out and reapply it to next race and hopefully get something similar. Because if he could knock out 5 or 6 Grand Prix right at the end of the season where he is right on the tail of Albon, he might be able to save that seat. I think James Vowles probably has a slightly more rosy approach to how he looks at Sargent than what most of the Formula One fans do. So I do think it's savable internally, and this was the weekend that it might have started. So I can imagine he's really quite gutted he's had to pull himself out.
Yeah, I would say to anyone who is questioning Logan Sargent's commitment or his drive or, wanting to get that result under his belt, just stop. Like in his position with the pressure that he's under, he would have given 120% before. Retiring from that Grand Prix would have been his absolute last resort of, I have to do this. Like, there's no other choice. We saw that, and I agree with all your points, like competitively, I think he was far better this weekend versus others. We saw that with the limited track time in practice and it being a track that we haven't gone to in 2 years, it's a new track for many. There were some teammates out there that there was a significant gap between the two teammates. I mean, to point out a few, obviously Stroll and Alonso, you had Verstappen and Perez. To be fair, I mean, the strategy worked out today somewhat for Zhou Guanyu, but Bottas and Zhou were quite far apart, Hulkenberg and Magnussen. So actually, up and down the grid, there were a lot of teammates where one driver did have a comfortable advantage over their teammate. And that wasn't really the case with Williams. Sargent was, for the most part, pretty much there. And I just think that, like you say, Sam, the frustration he had to have to retire from this Grand Prix, rest assured, he did everything he could have done before getting to that decision. He's not retiring unless he knows he absolutely has to. So I'd just say that to anyone who's maybe questioning him doing that. Harry?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to add from your points there. I think the most important part is that he was there with Albon this weekend, and I guess only due to him not feeling well was the reason that he'd sort of dropped down to the back end of the field when he retired. I think that's encouraging because I think otherwise he was up there with Albon, as you say, for most of the weekend. So yeah, and to go back to your commitment point, you can hear in his voice and, you know, Papa Val saying, come on in. And he's like, no, I'm going to stay out. And then he comes on again, like, you know, 5 laps later, he's saying, I still don't feel well. And they're saying, it's up to you,
There's
mate.
no shame in it, is what they're saying.
Just come on in, which he obviously does in the end. But like you say, Ben, that's not a person who doesn't care about this drive, which is, you know, that's admirable and what you want from your Formula One driver. So commend Logan on that. And yes, he'll be feeling like that's a missed opportunity today, but you know, Albon didn't pick up any points in the end. I'm not saying it was a lost opportunity in that sense, and they have the data and they can see from this weekend that he was there with him. So if he can carry that on into Texas and into the remainder of the year, then you know that's a good thing for him. So he shouldn't be too, I don't know what the word is, sad, embarrassed.
Yeah, downbeat about it.
Downbeat, yeah. He shouldn't be because, you know, it could have happened to any of those drivers on the grid that they got overheated or have got heat stroke or whatever. It just happened to be him.
One comment I was going to make about him, though, was I didn't love the way he was slowing down for cars to come through right on like the apex of corners. There was a couple of moments where
it came out. I saw a tweet from Martin Brundle, who was obviously not with Sky this weekend, but saying he's been there in Daytona, Le Mans, etc., where you've been so hot that you start to become slightly delirious.
Yeah, which I get, and I'm sure he was struggling with his capability of seeing properly and keeping his head straight. But you know, if he was able to slow the car down there, I feel like he was able to make the decision to slow the car down 2 seconds later on that big straight.
He was almost stationary, but like, why didn't you just go around the corner?
Yeah,
first?
right. You've slowed down too much at this point.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
That was the only thing. But again, he was very unwell, so you know, no one was hurt. We're okay.
I know what you mean. And there's no non-me way of saying this, but he's had a lot of practice of cars lapping him this season, right? But my point is, it hasn't been an ongoing issue throughout the year where, like with Mazepin as an example, it hasn't been an issue where he hasn't got out of the way well enough. So I'm almost willing to give him the benefit of the doubt here based on that. But I agree with your point. Right, let's take our last break. Moment of the race is on the other side. Okay, as usual, we've got moment of the race submissions from Discord. So if you'd like to get involved in the next one, well, maybe the next one. Who knows what we're doing for the US review, but normally at least, you can get your moment of the race submissions in Discord. The link to join is in the description. But let's start with our own. Sam, what was your moment of the race?
I feel like it was almost the greatest hits of George Russell this weekend.
This year's been a great decision of George Russell.
Great
He
radio
is
messages.
having an LB award.
He's getting his own one.
The Russell Appreciation
Guaranteed.
Award. I was going to give it to no hands. Put your hands up, Maurice. It's more fun, because I thought that was really funny. And then him coming to the pits and the look on his face, he'd aged 30 years. He was so tired.
So hot.
So please, raising his visor. But I'm actually going to give it to Russell, but for the move he pulled on Sergio Perez, all the way around the outside on a Red Bull like that, when he has had damage and had to go
Slim
back.
Russell.
What?
Slim Russell.
Slim Russell is what we called him. Eminem ran the outside. Slim Russell is his new nickname.
Well, Sam said George Shady first, and I thought
Slim Russell.
How are they equally as bad?
Because you're with Dumb and Dumber, mate. That's how.
I don't need to tell me that.
So yeah, Russell ran the outside. Slim Russell.
Slim Russell.
Takes my vote. Moment of the Russell.
Good.
That's the award. That's
Moment of the Russell.
The Russell.
Moment of the Russell.
Oh Lord.
It works with the acronym, so who am I to turn that down? My moment of the race. I kind of have two because I've already disclosed what mine was in the last segment, which was envisaging what he's got set up at his home. It's like a mini Brackley. Anyway, but so that was one. The other one is Oscar Piastri thinking that he'd got a 5-second time penalty in his post-race interview. That was great.
Scared the
Just
crap
to let
out
you
of
know, we have been informed. You've won driver of the day.
He looked unimpressed by that.
Why have you done that to me?
Why did
After what I've just been through this weekend, why have you done that to me?
Oh dear.
So I'll use that one as a backup option. What have you got, Harry?
I will go. It's already been mentioned, but I will go for Kevin Magnussen. Just screaming, it makes no sense.
Still don't know what he was talking about.
No idea.
Note to Kirsty: keep that one. That will be good to use at some point in some sort of post.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It'll come back.
Yeah, so that's the one I go for. I also shout out to Alonso, whose arse was on fire.
Oh, my bottom's hot.
But he was so calm.
Throw me some water in the cockpit,
Could
please.
just chuck some water on me.
Drench me. Ice bucket challenge being thrown out there like we're 14 again.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't say he had a hotum.
A hotum. That is honestly awful.
That's awful, Ben.
Hey, don't lie.
Learn from
You'd
the
have
best.
said it if you came up with it.
Speaking of Piastri.
Bottoms.
No. Oh. Speaking of Piastri being talking about the driver of the day, thinking it was the 5-second penalty, it reminded me of the look on Thingy's face in Peep Show where he goes, I could tell you that's all ancient history now. And then he goes, that's all ancient history now. Mark turns to him, he's just like, why have you said that to me? Like, that joke's terrible.
Oh, man.
Great. That was fun. Who have you got from our Discord?
Right. Honestly, so many of you this week. So thank you. We can't play all of you out because we would be here all evening. But first up,
50% of you.
yeah. First up is it's Hazard.
Right, boys, I'm going to let my wife do moment of the race this week. Just apology in advance. This one is a bit technical, so you're going to have to follow along.
I'm really glad that my fellow American sergeant did not bomb on camera. That's my moment.
Cheers, boys.
I love that Hazard, the most Cockney London man of all time, has managed to charm an American lady into being his wife.
Let's hope for everyone out there. Yeah.
Do you think they understand anything the other one says?
No, not at all.
No. Good. Well, thank you for that, Hazard and Hazard's wife. Next up is
Lady Hazard.
Huh?
Lady Hazard.
Lazar.
No,
Sebelicious is next.
he loves MILFs.
Jello. My moment of the race for Qatar was watching Checo Perez hand in his final notice, I guess. He's got 14 days before he's got to leave the Red Bull garage. Because obviously he's silent quitting. There's no other options, is there?
Silent quitting. There's a lot of business-related terms in there.
Business.
Also, the Jello intro.
Jello.
You're on thin ice there, Seb.
Qatar.
That's terrible.
Oh, gosh. Next up is Bristol Liam.
Hello, my moment of the race
Hello.
was when Fernando declared to the world of F1 they had a very hot bum. Cheers, lads.
Cheers, Liam.
Thanks, Bristol Liam. Very hot.
Short and sweet. Yeah.
The West Country does us proud.
Very up.
Great name.
Next is a new person, I think. Maybe. Thick Broncos.
Hello, boys. Thick Broncos here. First time, long time. Fantastic podcast.
Thank you.
Moment of the race when Logan Sargent kind of thought he was going to just poop himself on camera.
I also love that Thick Broncos there abbreviating first time submitter, long time listener to first time, long time.
Long time. First time, long time.
First time, long time.
FTLT.
Oh, Lord. Okay, next up is Real Dad, it's been away for a while.
James.
Here we go.
Hey LB boys, James here with Real Dad, and we're going to present our moment of the race. What's our moment of the race?
Our moment of the race is basically Russell and Hamilton going to Clacton Pier once again. Clacton Pier makes an appearance again, and it's the Dodgems again, this time with Mercedes spinning off Lewis.
My childhood.
First corner. Oh my God, carnage.
Clacton Pier.
It's not no Michael, no. It's no Russell, no Lewis, no. Over and out. Have a good evening.
Stay away from
Good night, boys.
Clacton Pier, everyone, please.
It's quickly become my favourite recurring joke.
Maybe we should do a live show from Clacton Pier.
Just
Yeah.
us and Real Dad and James. Oh, Lord. Okay, fine. Next up is 3 seconds worth of a big ham.
Alonso's butt got too hot.
Hot butt.
Skylar?
This is a Chief Wiggum reference here.
That's good, because next up is just going to be Chief.
Which is great. A big ham always reminds me of the line of Chief Wiggum in The Simpsons where he just goes, a really big shoe. I don't know why he said that. Off the top of my head either.
Gotta learn to listen, Lou.
A really big shoe.
Make
Make him away, toys.
Right, next up is just going to be Chief Wickham.
My Qatar moment of the race has to be Lando Norris making an absolute climb through the field. A man on a mission, had a job to do. I don't know if he was told at the end of the race to hold position, to stay behind Piastri, but I mean, he was on a tear. The McLarens, I think they're going to be something to be reckoned with next year.
Let's hope so.
I would love that.
Please.
Guaranteed 17th when we get to Bahrain.
That's how they roll.
That's how they roll. And then they'll be first by Abu Dhabi. My favourite name.
Next up is a new submitter, Lady Hot Dog 7.
The sequel to Lady Marmalade.
What are the 6 other Lady
What
Hot
happened
Dogs?
to the first 6?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, here we go. Lady Hot Dog 7.
Hey LB boys, Lady Hot Dog here with my first submission. My moment of the race, and what was an absolutely banana pants race for many reasons, was Lewis Hamilton's Marshall on the motorcycle getting lost, trying to get him back to the Mercedes garage. It was the Formula One equivalent of pushing a pole door.
Just pulled up to a digger, didn't he? He was kind of like, oh, I can't go this way.
Oh, no. Thank you for that, Lady
I'm
Hot Dog.
writing down banana pants.
Banana pants, yeah, I like that.
Do you remember Bangarang by Skrillex?
Yeah, tune.
Banana pants. Bass. I love it when people have stupid names, say their stupid name in their recording.
Yeah.
It's a niche level of comedy.
It's great stuff. I enjoy all the names we have. Speaking of, all good always.
My cup of sunshine.
Highly breaking. Wow, it's 2:30 a.m. in Singapore right now on a Monday. I have to go to work after this, so let's just get this moment of the race submission going. Hamilton driving like me, playing Mario Kart, and don't even get me started on George Russell. Albano leading the race at one point, and I totally got Red Bull flashbacks. Fernando choosing to drive the rally way by going wide twice. Checo collecting time penalties and getting lapped by Max. Lando no longer the favorite McLaren child, and Kevin, it doesn't make sense, was so iconic. Love you guys, love the podcast, bye.
A real highlights package.
That was real.
I feel like there was more than one in that.
Might have been more than one.
That has made me think of Pierre Gasly attempting Rainbow Road on Mario Kart. That wouldn't last very long.
How have we not brought up Alonso literally skipping 5 corners and pulling up all the dusk in the world?
Yeah. There's a lot
So
going on.
Alonso, isn't it? He loves a corner skip.
He's fine, mate. Just bored. Next up, Norm from Texas.
Oh, hello, my late-breaking friends from across Lay Big Wet. It is I, Norm from Texas, and now a permanent part of the McLaren CEO, boys. Yeah! Anyway, my moment of the race. George Russell talking on the radio like he was talking to his lawyer after having a bad accident. And just a couple words of encouragement for Logan Sargent. Keep racing, man. Anyway, keep breaking late. Can't wait to see you all in Austin. Peace out. Bye.
Can't wait for Russell to turn up next race with dash cams. So he's got dash cam footage as evidence.
Peace out, A-Town. Thank you for that, Norm from Texas, and thank you for
Usher reference.
Yeah. Thank you. For
Brilliant.
Yeah. We'll see you in Texas.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, and then finally, last but not least,
Little John.
last but not least, is Beef.
Hello. Moment of the race was me completely blaming George Russell for that lap one incident, and then I had some character development, and I grew up a little bit, and I concede, yes, it was Lewis's fault, and I apologise for my actions in the Discord. Okay, bye.
She declared war on the Discord for about 4 seconds.
Did she say character development?
Character development.
I thought she said, I don't know what. Anyway, something about carrots. Cheers, Beef. Was there even a moment of the race in that?
Well, that, I guess. Ben, by the way, mate, we're doing honey roasted carrots for our roast next week, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yes, mate.
That's good. Okay, very excited. I'm cooking Ben on roast.
Yeah.
I am buzzed.
Ben's staying at Sam's for a night, because do you know we're going to also...
Have you heard?
And then we're going to roast.
Can't wait.
Oh, there you go.
I'm more excited for the roast, I think.
Understandably.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, everyone.
Right, that's going to do it, I think, for this episode. Sam, get us out of here.
Folks, I'm still confused as to what happened, really.
Who won?
I don't know anymore.
All right.
But we haven't got a race next weekend because, of course, next one is going to be Texas where we have our live show. But we'll have our first Patreon episode being recorded this week. We've also got our usual midweek episode coming out. We will also do having a Sunday release. English is hard when you've spoken for too long.
We also do having a Sunday.
Having a Sunday.
True it is.
I've become Yoda. So make sure you're tuning in. If you want to listen ad-free, Patreon, you get every single episode and the extras and Beer with Breaking, all ad-free. You also get your birthday shout-out, you get discount on merchandise, you get lots of lovely things, and a gaming night as well, every single month. Some of us don't turn up to those, though.
That's not...
Anyway,
usual.
You can follow us on Late Breaking F1 on all social media. Also, if you want to be a YubTub subscriber, then you can go on to YubTub and you can watch us. We are here. Hello! Someone sent us photos of what they think we look like on Discord, and I was gravely insulted.
I've not seen this.
You're both fine. Ben's
All
like
right.
the most handsome guy in the world. You're like the most Joe Blogs normal dude. And I am a very overweight bald man. I was really quite... Also, someone keeps calling me the thumb. And I don't understand why that keeps happening.
That's happened for so long.
Why am I a thumb?
David Keir on Twitter. Honestly, I was howling at that. Absolutely howling.
I hate you. Anyway, we're going to be back as always. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later. I've been the crazy thumb.
I've been Ben Hocking.
I've been Reed. Oh, God.
And remember, keep breaking late.
Ding, ding.
The crazy thumb.
Doesn't make any sense.